Sorry, was just revisiting the Record Store Day Black Friday ritual list that I go through, and I was checking to see who got body and who got iced. Put the restrictor plate on this year, not because of my mama, not because of my wallet, because frankly, I'm at the point where I'm buying things that I will listen to and get my money's worth out of them. I have over 4,000 records. I certainly don't need to pop 50 from Black Friday and 50 from Record Store Day. Unless, of course, they're worth it. This Record Store Day, there were a few. There was only one I did not get, but I'm going to ride that storm out. Mario Speedwagon told me to do that. But if you got it, bravo. It was Billy Joel live from Long Island on his Nylon Curtain tour. That probably saw Billy at the peak of his playing and singing performance for me. Wasn't the most exciting like the older shows where you never knew if Billy was going to spaz out and knock over amps and throw a microphone. But this one has been on, I think I had it on VHS maybe. I might have had the DVD. I'm not sure. But here we are. Record Store Day, Black Friday 2025. Twice a year when that vinyl circus rolls into town, and twice a year I find myself, I don't find myself standing in line much anymore, but I find myself sitting online for Record Store Day the day after with my friends, waiting to see which titles are worth the ritual. The list always promises exclusives, first time on vinyl. Wait, there's more. A must-have for any collection. But let's be honest, half the time it's reheated leftovers dressed up in colored wax. The other half, genuinely worth the chase. Now, I didn't walk into this drop planning to drag my ass. I didn't plan on grabbing everything. It's not me anymore until it is. I'm not here to hoard, flip, God forbid, or buy records just to stare at the cool vinyl colors. If I want to look at colors, I'd get a mood ring. The way I've been feeling, that thing's going to spin colors like the sphere in Vegas. I set out to pick up the ones that I'll actually spin. The records that earn their place on my shelves. The ones that will get more than a single play before being filed away. At least in theory. That's my ritual. But let's be real. Sometimes you just got to grab a few just because. Maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's a collector's itch that whispers in my ear, you'll regret leaving this one behind. And so, yeah, a couple titles made it into the stack that I probably won't spin as much, but they still felt worth snagging. That's part of the fun, balancing the essentials with those oddball pickups. I mean, did I really need the Weasel or Macho Man Randy Savage or Crispin Glover in past Record Store days? Yes, I did, damn it. That's what I tell my wife. But in my heart, no, I didn't. It's about the hunt, the ritual, the community. For some people, that Zotro pressing or soundtrack repress is their crown jewel. To each his own. For me, it's about finding gems that cut through the noise, the ones that matter to me, the ones that speak to me, the ones I'll actually drop the needle on. So welcome to part one of my pickups. These are the first drops from Black Friday 2025. The records I have already spun and shall continue to spin, and the ones that, not so much. Because I grabbed them just to grab them. I wasn't disappointed in a whole lot. And the ones that prove Record Store Day isn't just about gimmicks. I picked up. It's about the chase and the joy of walking out to my front porch to pick up that box drop, or if I can get out that day, walking out of the shop with that vinyl under my arm, knowing I got something worth playing. This go round is my drop from Record Bar in Wilmington, North Carolina, and my good friend Tony and his crew. Amazing. Day after, you can get online. What's cool this year, I didn't catch it because I stopped in late, but normally he'll have, look, this is what we don't have. And don't be those people that go, hey, did this go up yet? When you go into this, plan on sitting there for 2 hours and X amount of minutes, because they ain't taking requests. And the best thing happened this year that he had been threatening for a while. It's hard to pull out these albums where he pulls them from without seeing what's coming next. And if it's a hot one, he'll tell you it's a hot one. But you have to wait. You can't just see it and go, sold! Because this year, he finally pulled the trigger and said, hey, you went in before I showed it. So if there's one left after these, you'll get it. If not, I'm sorry. It's fair. And I saw some albums I wanted before they came up, but I just waited. I was like, man, I better wait until he opens his mouth. And this was before the shots were fired. So, luckily for me, I got what I wanted. The one I didn't get was the Billy Joel Live from Long Island. It's up for $200-ish. Especially after shipping, you're going to pay $200. I'm not going to. Every year I find that one album that everybody wants, and I find that one seller who went, oh, guys spent way too much money wanting to flip these. I can't hold out. That's a guy I go to. Find him every single time, every year. And yes, am I paying $20 more? Sure. But guess what? You're already paying 20% over on a lot of these things. So what's the difference? To me, there's nothing wrong with profit. That businesses deserve profit. Flippers deserve a vinyl album shoved straight up their ass. Just saying. So, first one of the drop in my alphabetical order, Bratmobile, the real Janelle, backed with the Peel Session. Now, what's so important about this particular release, you ask? Well, great question. Whilst wasting time watching this drivel isn't the best decision you could have made, that mistake doesn't define you, because that question shows your true intelligence. First, this is a pretty historic EP, back in print, The Real Janelle, 1994 pressing from Bratmobile. It's been out of circulation for decades. It's sharp, feminist, punk statement that helped define Bratmobile's voice in the Riot Girl movement, which was huge back in the 90s. Though I didn't see a lot of those Riot Girls on Lilith Fair. Seemed a little, well, we're glad you're a feminist, but you don't fit the bill. But I digress. You're used to that, though. This is a Record Store Day first vinyl release of Peel Sessions. It's their 1993 BBC John Peel recordings that captured Bratmobile at their rawest, with jagged hooks, fuzz guitars, and an unapologetic vitriol This is the first time that those tracks are available on vinyl. Then there's the aforementioned Riot Girl legacy. Bratmobile were central to the Riot Girl scene alongside Bikini Kill and Heavens to Betsy. This release reasserts their place in the canon, reminding listeners of their feminist DIY ethos. It's a cultural reclamation, if you will, in an era where Riot Girl history risked being flattened. This release restores primary sources to circulation, a direct rebuttal to erasure. Now, how does it sound? Other intelligent question. Side A, The Real Janelle, fierce, personal, political. Tracks like Brat Girl and Yeah Huh mix my favorite, sarcasm with survival, while the Misfits cover Die and Where Eagles Dare show their punk teeth. Side B, you got your Peel sessions. Raw urgency with that John Peel studio clarity. Songs like Bitch Theme, Make Me Miss America, and Panic with a K. Flip power dynamics with the jagged riffs and chainsaw fuzz. This Bratmobile unfiltered, but captured with BBC production muscle. Overall sound, not polished, mainstream punk. It's urgent, confrontational, and alive. The Peel session especially feels like a time capsule of Riot Girl energy. Okay, Sweetness, what makes it so special? One, it's a dual legacy in combining two rare documents, an out-of-print EP and the unreleased vinyl session with John Peel. Two, fan significance. For collectors, it's a chance to own Bratmobile's most vital recordings in physical form again, rather than chasing a super expensive, it's only overpriced if you think it's overpriced, originals or bootlegs. Lastly, only 1,100 copies were pressed. Not that that matters. It's pressed in color vinyl. Woo! Lime green or maroon. Mine is the pink, maroonish, making it visually striking and collectible. Sarcasm mode was on there. As I said, to this old blind fool, the vinyl looked pink to me. Now, little trivia. Who was the real Janelle? I'll wait. Hang on. Take a little drinking do. Give up? Well, she's pictured right on the Bratmobile album. Made her a little dizzy. Right there. That is Janelle Hessing, a former Bratmobile roadie. And she created the Tales of Blarg and Desperate Time fanzines, which were primary sources of the East Bay punk history. She captured humor, politics, and personalities of the scene. Her work was so influential, the Bratmobile immortalized her in The Real Janelle. These zines are now rare artifacts, by the way, cited in retrospectives of punk publishing. If you have them, hang on to them or sell them bitches. You got my email. This is just not another RSD trinket. No. It's a relic. It's live in Copenhagen. 1967. Oh, 68. Oof. It's badass. I'll go on. Finally sees daylight. Pressed across two translucent LPs that glow like ghosts when you hold them in the light. Ooh, Mr. Mojo Rising. Limited to 5,500 copies. Up, Scratch that 8,500 copies. Gatefold sleeve. The whole package feels less like a collectible and more like a seance with those albums. That's all I had. Drop the needle. You're not listening to a record. I'm telling you, you're stepping into that room in Denmark in 68 with Morrison prowling that stage and the band locked in behind him. Sound quality? Glad you guys are on your game. For a 1968 tape, the sound's shockingly strong. It's not sterile, it is alive. You hear the grit of the room, the crowd's energy, and the danger in Morrison's delivery for real. His voice cuts through with menacing clarity. Manzarek's keys shimmer like a feverish dream. Robbie Krieger's guitar slices sharp, and Densmore's drum, and they snap with precision. It's balanced, it breathes, it's a kind of mix that makes you feel cigarette smoke curling around your head while the band stretches songs into improvisational chaos. And it is, seriously, no, it also wouldn't be cigarette smoke. It made a weed. Let's look at this one track by track because so much is what's been released, at least officially, do have the same run-of-the-mill titles. That sometimes is a bit frustrating for a huge Doors fan like myself. And it becomes a money grab, knowing that the Doors enthusiasts are just going to hand over their cash without much thought. This one really isn't the titles per se, but the fucking Mr. Mojo Rising delivery. Starts off when the music's over. Opens the set with a sprawling intensity. Morrison's improvisational theater is in full force here. The band stretching the song into a ritual. Backdoor Man, classic on plenty of Doors live albums. This one has that just blues swagger, and it's rarely captured this clean on official live releases. You can feel Morrison prowling that stage. Krieger snarls, and the band sounds like they're tearing the roof off the venue. 5-1, feral, venomous. Morrison spitting lines like a prophet while the band locks in on a groove that feels like it could collapse at any given time. This is the Doors at their most dangerous. And hearing it preserved here, it's a gift. Break on through, come on now, to the other side. It's delivered with urgency, reminding you this wasn't just a debut single, it was a manifesto. Alabama song, whiskey bar, a Brechtwell cover that shows Morrison's theatrical bent. Rarely preserved live. It's a surreal detour that makes this Copenhagen set pretty unique. Then, The Wasp. Texas radio and the big beat. The revelation. Morrison delivers his spoken word incantation in 1968. What? Years before it surfaced on LA Woman in 71. It's raw, prophetic, and proof the band was already experimenting with material that wouldn't see the light of day until their final studio album. This alone makes the Copenhagen official release historical and essential. Hello, I Love You. Not quite my favorite Doors song. Was the hit single at the moment. This one is delivered with some urgency. Morrison doesn't treat it like it's a bubblegum top 10 song. He spits it out with bite, man, bending that radio pop into a menace. Then you've got Wake Up. It's a fragment of Morrison's Celebration of the Lizard. Was on absolutely live. This one shouts the command and drags the audience into this surreal imagery of snakes, prisons, mirrors, rain. It's not a song. It's theater. Theater of the mind that Morrison is demanding consciousness. Rarely captured live. And it's here. It's preserved. Then you got, of course, Light My Fire. Centerpiece, of course. What was a pop single on radio becomes a sprawling jam. No shit. Stretching into an improvisational musical theater. Manzarek and Krieger trade these solos. Densmore's driving it forward, and Morrison rides that wave, man. It's the Doors proving that they could swing with the best of them. Next up, once I had a little game, a game I played in back of my brain. Another Celebration of the Lizard fragment, playful, surreal. Morrison actually folds it into the set like a fever dream. Proof once again the band wasn't afraid to derail expectations mid-concert. Now you know by now that I don't care for special color vinyl. It's usually meaningless, and this one on translucent vinyl isn't just eye candy for mental patients. No. It does give it a ghost-like feel and matches what's pressed on it. Outside of collectible bullshit and flippers / investor idiotic mindset, some special reasons to own this if you're a Doors fan and a James Douglas Morrison fan. It is the first release of this show. Not rehearsed or rehashed repress. A genuine archival drop. There's that rareness with Wasp Radio years before LA Woman. Iconic deliveries of the songs that may appear time and time again on a release like this, but the feral energy captured, chef's kiss. The packaging is actually nice. It's got a gatefold sleeve and a nice read with the liner notes in there. Sure, it's quote-unquote limited to 8,500 copies as a collectible, but more importantly, it's a preservation. Bottom line, Live in Copenhagen 68 isn't just nostalgia. It's proof. Proof that the Doors weren't just myth, weren't just chaos, but a band that could swing, snarl, and improvise with the best of them. Morrison is alive here. Commanding, demanding, dangerous, poetic. The band's tight, fearless, and feeding off the crowd. This release just doesn't earn its RSD slot. It demands it. This shows the Doors, again, weren't just a myth, an urban legend. This record really, for a Doors fan or a fan of that era's music, it's essential. It shows, and you can hear the deserved accolades that they get. Okay, what have we got next? Well, that was the Doors. Oh my. Jazz Sabbath. I know. What the fuck is Jazz Sabbath? Wow. Cats are asking all the right questions. I'll give you that. Jazz Sabbath is a satire with teeth. It's Adam Wakeman taking those sacred Black Sabbath songs and flipping it inside out as jazz standards. The whole concept leans on the idea that those riffs, dark, heavy, iconic, can be stripped down and rebuilt as modal explorations. I've been trying to write. Swing grooves and improvisational jams. Wakeman even cooked up the tongue-in-cheek backstory that his alter ego, Milton Keynes, is a bitter jazz pianist claiming Sabbath stole his compositions back in the late 60s. The band might have a comical slant on their backstory, but trust me, this isn't a parody. Neither are they. Their performances are musically rigorous with piano, upright bass, and drums that literally reshape those Sabbath songs into smoky, unpredictable pieces that feel alive in a whole new way. What makes it a hit is adaptability of Sabbath songwriting. Those riffs are strong enough to survive any disguise. At the same time, the project pokes fun at rock mythology and the self-importance it's been built around Sabbath's legacy. Not by them, by us, the fans. But why a jazz take on music? Another good question. Adam Wakeman happens to be Rick Wakeman, Yes's longtime keyboardist, but he was also behind the curtain keyboardist for both Ozzy and Black Sabbath beginning in 2004. Ho! He joined Ozzy's solo band in 2004, and he became Ozzy's longest running keyboardist. The things you find. He co-wrote 6 tracks on Ozzy's platinum album Scream from 2010, and he performed on every Ozzy tour from 2004 through the final Back to the Beginning show in 2025. As for Sabbath, he played keyboards and guitar off stage during Sabbath tours from 2004 onward. That includes not just the Dio, but also Ozzy's coming back into the fold for the final farewell. That wasn't final, thank God. He helped fill the band sound out live without ever appearing as an official on-stage member. Now, this year's Black Friday did give us a gem. Jazz Sabbath Live. No eye rolling here. No another repress nobody asked for. This one actually matters. Adam Wakeman and his crew finally dropped their first official live record, 2LP Beauty, that proves the whole Jazz Sabbath idea isn't just clever, it's combustible. The sound is stripped to the bone. Piano, upright bass, drums. That's it. No guitars lurking in the wings. No overdubs. No studio gloss. Just 3 players tearing into Sabbath's heavy hitters. War Pigs, Iron Man, Paranoid, Children of the Grave. And stretching them into those jazz club, smoke-filled rooms of unpredictable jams. One night, Rat Salad runs 7 minutes. Another night, it's 14 minutes. That's not a gimmick. That's just jazz being jazz. Living in risk, leaning into chaos, and making it swing. What makes this release a hit for me is the rawness. You can hear the room, the spontaneity, and the danger. Sabbath's darkness doesn't disappear. It mutates in this one. Fairies Wear Boots suddenly swings. Black Sabbath itself feels like it was born to be played in a trio. And Into the Void becomes something entirely different without losing that menace. It's satire on the surface, sure, but underneath, it's serious as fuck. And yes, Record Store Day loves its scarcity in colored gems, 2750. That's 2,750 copies pressed on orange vinyl. It's got a real nice gatefold sleeve with not so high quality record sleeves. Thank you very little. They're paper. It's bullshit. I don't want to replace every damn sleeve. And yes, there is a difference here. This one does earn the hype. It's not, again, another reheated repress. It's the first time Jazz Sabbath's live energy has been even captured officially. It makes it more than a collectible. It's a document of Sabbath's songs surviving outside of metal and thriving in another language. Bottom line, Jazz Sabbath Live Swing snarls and refuses to sit still. It's satire with teeth, as I said, performance with guts, and proof that Sabbath riffs are fucking bulletproof. The release doesn't just work, it kills. I passed over a few killer jazz albums from the likes of Bill Evans and even Miles this record store day. Still may get them. But if I don't, I'm happy as hell this was the jazz album I picked up, and adds to fulfilling my Jazz Sabbath discography. Man, I wish they'd toured the States. Fudge. Oh, who do we have next? Well. Got a little country in here. Marcus King. This is Darling Blue. This I bought off his website. Came with the autographed postcard. It is truly signed, not auto-penned, and I appreciate it. This record store day does have its gimmicks, but No Room for Blue isn't one of them. Not. This release is Marcus King opening the vaults, baby. I just wish I could find a way to stop the lighting. Maybe it's his lighter causing that glare. What do you think? On Darling Blue sessions and showing us the other side of the coin from with this release. If Darling Blue was the cathedral, lush, polished, and built to last, No Room for Blues, the rehearsal space that sketches, the alternate takes, the covers, the raw edges that proves King's artistry isn't just confined to studio polish. I love this guy. His pressing's warm and full with King's voice front and center. That cracked, soulful delivery, the kind that makes you believe that he's lived lifetimes, many times over already, and he's still intact. His guitar tone, molten, bending between blues licks and rock fire, while the arrangements lean into both tenderness and grit. It's a turquoise swirl. The vinyl isn't just eye candy. It is a visual echo of the blue motif, if you will, that's been running through King's work since Mood Swings Blue. Now I'm starting to second guess my disdain for colored vinyl. Oh, shut up. Look, I don't buy just because of the color. The ones I've mentioned so far, the color just adds to the whole. It's not the reason you buy it. Go track by track. Let's see. Shiver, Slow Burner, King's voice trembling with urgency, vulnerability front and center. Dirt, the Macon version. Raw, earthier, grounding the song into his southern roots. Falling for the Devil, it's blues fire. Snarling verses, King channeling that darker side of temptation. Your favorite band, wry humor wrapped in tenderness, showing his ability to balance heartbreak with wit. I like that. Ramblin' Man, you know it. Tradition honored, King carrying that Southern Rock torch with authority, making them almond boys proud. Good Run, reflective, bittersweet, a song about moving on without bitterness. Delilah, Nashville version. Alternate cut with a different emotional shading and more intimate than on the Darling Blue. Lilac Wine, haunted and delicate is all I can say. Marcus's voice is dripping with fragility and is a true standout on the album. Dirty Blow, Swaggering Blues, Muscle, Pure Grit, Angel, Vulnerable, Aching, a reminder of his gift for the balladry. He's a balladeer. Roses, soulful, lush, King leading in again into tenderness. Red Door, heavy with atmosphere, and closing the record with weight. Right? Is that enough? No, this is Marcus damn King. This cat is the real deal. How does it tie Marcus's Darling Blue and Mood Swings Blue? Still asking great questions. Of course, you're probably saying, I didn't even know there were 2 or 3 other Blue albums. Put it out in mind. You're still watching this, but damn, you're a genius, pile. Darling Blues, King's big 2025 statement, lush, fully realized, steeped in blue red soul he carries in his bones. No room for blue as a shadow companion. Bonus tracks, alternate takes, shows the seams of the process, and together they form a diptych. The polished jewel and the rough cut stone. The emotional continuity runs straight back to Mood Swings Blue from 2023. The record was heartbreak and vulnerability. Darling Blues, resilience and survival. No Room for Blue bridges both of the two, showing sketches and experiments that fed into the main albums. Marcus King is a generational talent, and No Room for Blue proves it. This isn't filler, it's a companion record that deepens the emotional palette of his recent work. It swings between grit and tenderness, heartbreak and humor, proving King can channel that blues tradition while making it entirely his own. This release doesn't just earn an RSD slot, it demands it. And for anyone who believes King is carrying the torch forward, No Room for Blue is essential and will back it up. And that's the bottom line. Oh, what have we got here? Does that say original soundtrack album, Big Top Pee Wee, first time on picture vinyl? Stop it. It's essential, Sue. Sorry, I was talking to my wife. Look, I didn't buy this record because I needed another fucking picture disc. No. I already own both Pee Wee soundtracks, Big Adventure, Big Top Pee Wee, in original presses, tucked away like relics from a stranger and funnier America. These are. Then why the hell did you buy this, Lewis? That one seemed a little aggressive on your part asking that. I bought this record store day Black Friday release because of Pee Wee himself. Because Paul Rubens mattered, because of the absurdity, the innocence, the wink behind the bow tie. It still cuts through the noise of institutional reissues and collector bait. This release, pressed for RSD Black Friday, marked the first time for a reissue of Pee Wee's Big Top Pee Wee. Packaging, it leans heavy on nostalgia. The circus colors, Pee Wee's grin, the promise of a lost gem, finally back. And sonically, well, it's faithful. It's Danny Elfman. Scores that he's done, this one is right on par. Swings between that carnival bombast and sly off-kilter melody. But if you got the original, you already knew that. So why does this matter? This isn't about upgrades or scarcity. It's about ritual. Dropping the needle on Big Top Pee Wee is less about Elfman's orchestration than it is about our honoring Paul Rubens' world. A world where silliness was sacred. The circus was a metaphor for refusing to grow up on anyone else's term. Thank you, Pee Wee. Owning the original pressing means I don't need this record, but I wanted it anyway because every Pee Wee artifact feels like just a small act of preservation in a good way. Not, what is this? Pee Wee's Playhouse. If you haven't watched the documentary on Paul Rubens, you need to watch it. Two-parter, promise you. Questions with facts are answered. It's not always pretty, but it's factual. Because Paul Rubens' death made these records heavier and more personal for me. From the collector's angle, hey, for flippers, this is just an RSD novelty. For me, it's a ritual purchase, a way of saying Pee Wee still belongs in the rotation, not just for the archives. The record itself doesn't rewrite history, it just reminds me that history is worth keeping alive. Well, the verdict. I wouldn't tell you go out and buy it, but unless you're a Pee Wee fan. If you're chasing scarcity, skip it. If you're chasing Pee Wee, grab it. This release isn't about the grooves, it's about the grin. And those of us who grew up with Pee Wee, even though I was a young adult with a child, and it's Pee Wee in the back. That's my original talking Pee Wee doll, and he still talks. We still hear Ruben's voice echoing through Elfman's score, literally. And that grin, it's worth the price of admission. All right, we're coming down to the end. Whoa, what do I got left? 1, 2, 3, and 2. No, I didn't buy this because I needed another copy of this fucking album, which is the Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request, exclusive on Zoetrope vinyl. I have the UK and the US version of this in OG pressings. I have the lenticular covers, etc. I have no less than 5 copies already, thus making me ask, what the fuck is wrong with me? Doesn't matter, pig. I didn't buy it because the pressing was special or because RSD promised some psychedelic gimmick that I have to use an app or a strobe light to watch it spin under and get a kaleidoscope circus of visuals. Who does that? Who actually sits around watching their record spin like a novelty toy instead of listening to it? Not me, but I may. The record itself is still the Stones' psychedelic detour, Mick and Keith playing cosmic dress-up while the band tries on Sgt. Pepper clothes. What can I tell you? It's messy, it's indulgent, it's glorious in its own way because it's the Rolling Stones. This music doesn't need a carnival trick. Some of the tracks, She's a Rainbow, Stones at their most technicolor, a track that still lights up a room and finds its way into Stones tours next year, stadium tour again. 2,000 Light Years from Home, pure cosmic paranoia, fan favorite, proves the Stones could do space rock. Citadel, jagged riff that cuts through the psychedelic haze, foreshadowing their return to harder rock. In Another Land, it's Bill Wyman's oddball vocal moment, a cult favorite for fans who dig those weird corners. These aren't gimmicks. They're reason this record still matters. And why did I buy it? I already told you. Because it's the Stones. That's the whole damn reason. I don't need to justify it with fidelity charts or collector scarcity. This isn't about whether Satanic is underrated or overhyped. It's about the ritual. About grabbing the record, dropping the needle, and remembering the Stones' missteps are still monuments. Collector's angle, not me. For flippers, another psychedelic cash grab. For me, it's Reflex. Stones on the shelf, Stones in a rotation. Stones on RSD, I'm buying. The Zoetrope gimmick is noise. The Stones are the signal. Look, if you're chasing gimmicks, spin your Zoetrope under a lamp and pretend it's art. If you're chasing the Stones, grab it. This release isn't about the visuals. It's, again, about the name. And those who still treat the Rolling Stones as sacred text, that name is worth the price of admission. This is the Rolling fucking Stones and an RSD release. Nothing more. Only one reason it matters. When it comes to the Stones reissues on Record Store Days, it is straight up, no thinking. Here, take my money. To think this polarizing album, though, was 1 year before the Stones went on a tear with Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Goat's Head Soup, It's Only Rock and Roll, Black and Blue, Some Girls, Emotional Rescue, and Tattoo You. Yeah, tell me again how the Beatles are the greatest rock and roll band ever. Nope. And last, but not least, there are records that arrive as artifacts. And then there are records that arrive as compromises dressed up in colored wax. Van Halen Live 1995, issued for Record Store Day, is a bit of both. That's right. It's not the first time this show has been pressed on vinyl. It was already included in the Balance Deluxe reissue earlier this year. What RSD offers here is not archival revelation, but a cosmetic stunt. Translucent orange crush vinyl. A gimmick that should have been blood red. If anyone involved had the guts to match the music's mood. Orange is marketing, red would have been truth. It also would have been more representative of Eddie's famous Frankenstrat red guitar and Sammy the Red Rocker Hagar. This is the sound of the band splitting. June 24th, 1995, Wembley Stadium, Van Halen on a Balance tour, a band splitting at the seams. Eddie and Alex barely speaking to Sammy, Michael Anthony caught in the crossfire as usual, the machinery still roaring, but the engine was already had a cracked block. This is not peak power. It's fracture amplified through Marshall stacks. True professional showmanship is what it is. Nothing from the heart and soul that was once the mighty Van Halen. But it's a document in history. And with Eddie's passing, I'll take whatever. The set list chosen for this release is truncated to 8 tracks. 7 Seal, Fine Sammy. Feeling, Fine Sammy. I don't even want to say it. Ain't Talking About Love. I will say this is a good version of it, but it's Dave. Eddie's guitar solo. You ain't getting a complaint out of me. We'll go into that in a little bit. You really got me? It's a Kinks cover that Van Halen made their own with Dave fronting the band. This should not be on here. When It's Love, fucking Sammy. The keys, beautiful. Jump. I gotta admit, it's been overplayed, and by 1995, it was already 11 years. And Dave, right now, love that song. 8 songs from a full stadium show. 8 songs, mind you, from 3 nights of Wembley Fire. 8 songs ration out like scraps, especially since this was already a pre-release. Swap out the Roth era stuff for the Sammy era. By 95, if you're a Van Halen fan, you are a fan of this era. End of story. For unlawful carnal knowledge. That's fuck to you and me. One track here is beyond critique. Eddie solo. To hear Edward Van Halen rip live again, now that he's gone, some would call it filler. It's not filler. It's a benediction. Every note is a reminder of why we collect and we preserve and we fight against institutional rationings of legacies. His solo is the pulse of this record, the moment where the vinyl transcends its packaging stunt and becomes communion. But then there are the Roth era songs. As I said, Ain't Talking, Got Me, Jump. Sammy sings them straight without trying to reinvent or ad lib, but their presence still dilutes the focus. This was Sammy's swan song tour. It should have been documented as such. To splice Roth era tracks into this release is not an homage, it's a hedging. It's the institution refusing to commit. It's the inmates of Edward and Alex driving it home. This release should have been a double album. End of story. Full Wembley set, pressed on red vinyl, with liner notes that contextualize the collapse of Van Halen in 95. Or celebrate them. I don't care. But something should be in there instead of just a picture, a couple of pics, and blurry photo. Instead, we get a collector's tease. 8 songs recycled from a box set, dressed in orange plastic. Tragedy isn't the music, though. The music's still monumental, even if fractured. The tragedy is the rationing, the refusal to give fans the full ritual, the decision to market scarcity instead of unleashing abundance. My verdict? I will tell you. Van Halen live at Wembley 1995 is both blessing and betrayal. Blessing because Eddie's solo lives on again on wax, a gift to those who still spin records as a ritual. Betrayal because the release is trunicated, compromised, and dressed in the wrong color. This is not just a record. This is actually a case study in how institutions manage legacy. Rationing, recycling, repackaging. For collectors, it is essential. For historians, it's infuriating. For fans, it's bittersweet. Final word, the album is a fractured press to vinyl. A fracture. A split. Press to vinyl. Yeah. I was getting tired when I started typing out my little notes. The album, Eddie's solo is salvation, whether one of his best or one of his mediocrest. I don't care. He's Edward fucking Van Halen. Come on, RSD, you could do better than that. That's it. Probably wasted about an hour's worth of your time thus far. Oh, close, 53 minutes. Next drop will be from my good friend, Armando Cardosa, out of Vintage Mio Records, Waco, Texas, right across the street from the Shiplap King and Queen on Magnolia Farms. This was Armando's first record store day. It wasn't the official record store day. It was Black Friday. You got to start somewhere. And this son of a bitch donated over $2,000 of his profits. I'll have all of that stuff for you in the next episode. Next year, I'm going to help push Armando. I want you guys to jump on board. Man, he had some records. And though he's a friend, he told me he had the copy of Billy Joel. Guess what he said? If you come in the store, I'll sell it to you. Otherwise, I can't hold it for you, brother. That's some stand-up shit right there. So, Armando, I thank you. I'm looking forward to the records drop tomorrow. I'm getting back on my rocker. It's cold. I got my window open. I ain't got no pants on. That's a visual. You're welcome. This is Sweet Lou. See you on the other side.